Hello, everyone, and welcome to Battle for the Rift as we have the 8 best teams in Europe going head-to-head throughout today and tomorrow to find out who's going to be the best European team out there and, of course, who takes home the lion's share of the $5,000 prize pool. I'm Jason Kaplan. I'm your host here, sneaking in the last few days. Trid, I hope you are doing well. But we do have two fantastic commentators to help pick up the slack here with Maxman and Excoundrel. First of all, Max, you're looking good today. I'm liking the haircut. How are you feeling about all the games we have coming up?
I'm feeling really good. Yesterday, didn't talk too good about my haircut, so I'm happy. Day two, you made up for it.
No one
Thank you
knows
very
that.
much. We won't talk too much about that one. But yeah, we got some fantastic teams coming into this one. I mean, we casted yourself and me, Jason. We casted some Baron fight action, and we had some great teams. Clearly the best teams in Europe right now. So it's going to be a real close one for sure. I can't wait.
And Excoundrel, I mean, you've been putting out your tier list. You've been grinding away on Wild Rift as well. You got to be excited about casting some of these teams in particular. For me, I'm already looking towards the likes of Na'Vi.
Yeah, honestly, there are some really big names in this competition. A lot of guys that I know from previous mobile titles as well. Some incredibly skilled players. I played a lot of these guys in the solo queue ladder. So some familiar faces for me. And as you said, definitely people like Na'Vi, Tribe, Queso, and also people like Gamelord, who were a recently converted team over from Team Singularity. I think this is going to be our real banger of a tournament. And I'm just excited to see the meta as well, because the way that the drafts is set up, we've got more bans in there than usual. We're going to see some very interesting comps coming through. And I'm just really excited to see all the action.
Well, you know what? I'm just excited as you are, so I want to kind of rush through this so we can get into our first match, but we got to talk about our prize pool a little bit more for you guys at home. As I mentioned, $5,000 on the line here for all these teams, but first place taking home $3,000. Max, I would be happy taking that. I know nowhere as good as these players, but that's a phenomenal payday for 2 days of work for them.
I mean, the $3,000 for the first position is more than like most European tournaments that have been going on so far. So for sure, that means that we're going to see these teams going full try-hard mode into this one. At least that's what I'm hoping to see coming in at the end. And still, 1,500, 500. I think that most teams participating here have not been able to see that amount of prize pool for those positions. So I would say in terms of prize pool alone, this is one of the biggest tournaments out there. It was like the ESL Premiership and stuff. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how these teams are going to play into this one. Also known it is single elimination. So I'm just going to feel bad for the team that goes up against Na'Vi in match one. They're going to have a real hard time.
Exactly. I mean, Scoundrel, that's the thing for me, is it is single elimination. We've seen so many events where they last weeks. You have like a group stage or you have double elimination bracket. But if you lose that match, you're out of the prize earnings. And you can see all the matches we have coming up today. In your eyes, Scoundrel, which one are you looking towards as being one of the most exciting ones?
I think this first round is, I would say, relatively one-sided for some of the matches, just from what I know from the teams. I think there are some clear favorites in each of our brackets. However, the Gamelord Fastpay Wildcats could be an interesting one. I know Maxman has cast a bit of Fastpay Wildcats in the past, and they have sometimes pulled out these ridiculous upsets, and I would definitely call it an upset if Gamelord do get beaten out by Fastpay Wildcats. And Trovo versus Tribe, two big names from sort of the pioneering sort of early stages of European Wild Rift. That's another matchup that I'm really excited about.
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, Max, I've been talking to you about Tribe when we were casting the Trovanova Baron fight event. I want to see these guys play. I want to see Snitch. I want to see Leon. You guys have been talking to me about Doom as well. This team has so much potential, and it's great to see them come into this event for a chance to contend against the best teams in Europe.
I mean, myself and Excoundrel, we got history too, is Leon. And also, I think you're going to talk about that. We got history. We know the guys.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, I was literally going to say exactly the same as you, Max. And what's so interesting is how Wild Rift is a coalescing of previous mobile pros across AOV, Vainglory, even some Mobile Legends players on Team Queso coming in. So you've got a big coalescing of these incredible mobile talents, and Wild Rift's kind of picking up the best of the best right now. And Tribe has even got an ex-Heroes of the Storm player in it. He's got an ex-Heroes of the Storm pro on the roster. So we've got some really, really talented MOBA players in this tournament.
And I do want to remind you guys at home, by the way, you guys at home watching have a chance to actually get involved in one of our giveaways going on with Mobile Gaming Corp. They're doing 10 $50 giveaway certificates. If you type !giveaway in chat, you can see the link you need to click on and how you can enter. It'll all be done at the end of day 2, a little bit after that, so make sure you guys get your entries in as soon as possible. But now we're going to dive into our very first match of today, and it's going to be Na'Vi up against Vampire Esports. Now, Excoundrel, you kind of said before you're expecting some very one-sided matches to kick things off, and for me, this is going to be, from my recent past of casting Na'Vi, a little bit one-sided towards them.
Yeah, I'm not putting any flame towards Vampire. They're a good
Yeah.
roster when you look in terms of the broader spectrum of things, but Na'Vi really are cemented as one of the best teams in Europe. And I do expect this to be very Na'Vi favored. Na'Vi kind of burst onto the scene a few months ago and really upset a lot of people in terms of the way they played. And I think they've gone from strength to strength. And I think, as you mentioned, you're very excited to see Na'Vi for good reason, Jason. They're a great team.
So Max, I was looking at these two rosters and I was kind of looking at the history of the teams and individually. Na'Vi have been together for quite a long time with basically the exact same core, if not exactly the same core, right? They were named Team Ghost before. Where Vampire Esports, they only have one player on the team who has kind of been on all iterations with Dark Ghost. So I do wonder, is this the iteration for the team that's going to unlock the potential of all the players and be able to challenge the likes of Na'Vi?
Well, I think that if you want to challenge Na'Vi, and we especially saw that in the Baron fight especially, you need really strong team synergy and really good map control when it comes down to your rotation, because Na'Vi, how they play is typically, we get an early lead. It doesn't matter if it's a big or small lead. They're going to convert that lead into objectives, and off of those objectives, they're going to typically win the games. So the fact that Vampire Esports have a roster that's still, changing, shifting by the minute, I think is something that could hurt their chances really heavily to face up against Na'Vi. But no, we did see just recently in a grand finals, Team Kesso win up against Na'Vi. So there's that new blood coming into the scene. So Vampire, I'm not saying it's going to be a lose. It is going to be a hard matchup, but I would like to see this new blood, these new teams actually rise up to the occasion. And if they do take down Na'Vi, they're going to be a runner-up for that #1 position at the end.
And to take down Na'Vi, Alexandra, I'm kind of looking at two players in particular for me, and you've been talking so positively about this first one. We're going to mention Garen in particular in that Baron lane. You've been talking about how unstoppable this player has been.
Yeah, he's got a very patented Malphite pick, and Malphite right now is one of the more influential Baron laners in competitive, I would say. Mainly because in Wild Rift, it is very difficult to activate a split push win condition. Riot have recently made changes on patch 2.2c, which they think will help promote split push win conditions. But yeah, I'm very excited about Garen.
Okay, well, gentlemen, we're going to head into our draft. So why don't you guys take it away for our very first game of the day.
Thank you very much, Jason. And indeed, here we go. The very first draft of the action here. It's going to be really fun to see exactly what's going to be coming on board, but we do then have Xcandral 6 bans. 3 bans for both teams, so that's going to be the interesting one. So all the top tier champions you might think of, I'm pretty sure we're going to see them off the board. And yesterday we were talking about, and especially you were talking about Xcandral seeing Ziggs getting banned every game. And as it seems to be happening here, Ziggs is going to be the first ban on the board for Vampire.
Ziggs is absolutely obnoxious in competitive because turrets are like paper in Wild Rift, and Ziggs makes them feel even less so. So Ziggs, one of those champions that can snowball a lead ridiculously quickly, can take towers just like that. Not surprised to see him gone. Akali, one of the strongest flex picks between Baron and mid that we have in the game right now. She has not been nerfed for numerous patches, despite pros really wanting her to be hit with the nerf hammer. Fiora, I think, if you look at the tier list, I made one of the best Baron laners in the game, so not surprised to see her taken off the board. Lee Sin also, I think, remaining one of the 2 top junglers in the meta right now also. So these are some very standard bans, but this is what I'm excited about, Max. This is a 3-ban tournament, so we are going to see more of these sort of high-tier picks taken off the board, which is going to open up those drafts a little more.
If I have a recommendation for Vampire here, you're going into Na'Vi. Hopefully they've done their homework, because there's a lot of VODs out there on the internet about especially how Skye plays in the mid lane. He's an insanely talented player when it comes down to playing Zed. Yes. I would say if Vampire are fully ready onto this one, they ban away the Zed. He's just way too good on that champion. I would recommend it. And also one of the bans that did come through already for Vampire, I'm looking at the Lee Sin. They took away the Lee Sin, which is also the main champion that which Ghost excels completely in the jungle position. Also, I think he's pretty broken in jungle, Lee Sin around. So I do think these bans are pretty strong, but the Camille being taken away, with the Fiora also taken off of the board, still have the Malphite open for Garen. So I think that's going to be a pretty standard pick for Garen for Na'Vi.
And Braum is probably the most overpowered support in the meta right now, despite the nerfs on patch 2.2c. So not surprised to see him taken away. Now, obviously, Rengar and Kha'Zix are available. Rengar could be a pick that we see in the jungle. A lot of people playing him in solo queue right now. I believe he's much stronger than Kha'Zix. I rate him very highly. Other than that, something that has been popping up in competitive recently, Tank Gragas. I would not be surprised to see some Tank Gragas prioritized, but it looks like we are going to get a Diana, and I think she is still incredibly strong, especially in mid, so no surprises to see Diana prioritized. Her teamfight potential is insane. Her ultimate damage on full charge is absolutely nutty, and so it also makes picking Katarina a little bit harder if Skye wanted to do that. However, I believe Zed is a relatively good answer into Diana, and so if Sky wanted to do that, it would be an option.
Yeah, even though we do have to say that Janna did get nerfed a little bit in this most recent patch of 2.2. C is like a small attack speed nerf, but it's nothing really substantial, I would say, to make her bad. So she's still going to be really good in that position. Though Lux, Jason, if he was here, we'd say this is the best pick in the world because Lux, we play myself, Jason, quite a bit. Lux Seraphine, we're kind of toxic in those games with it, I'm not going to lie. But Lux, really one of the best champions when it comes down to the support position, really aggressive. And also if you do go for the Harmonic Echo, you're going to get that healing on top of your shielding.
Yeah.
It's a really strong champion. I have literally no issue with this one. Now I want to see what they build around this Lux. And the Wukong with that one, you pop the shields while he's diving the backline. I think that Wukong Lux enables a lot of potential when it comes down to their entire draft.
I mean, Lux is just, if you max shield first and go Harmonic Echoes, like you said, even with the recent nerf to her return shield sort of, I guess, number values, even with the recent nerfs to it, she's still ridiculously strong. And so not surprised to see Lux coming through. Going for the Darius is interesting, though, because there are a lot of picks that still do well into Darius. Tank Gragas being one of those picks that actually excels relatively well, even just straight up AP Gragas if you wanted to go for it. And that does get locked in by JVix here. And they've gone for the Xayah 2, which when you look at the amount of dive potential that we're seeing coming out from Na'Vi, it is probably the most sensible AD carry. There is a trifecta of AD carries in the meta right now. It's Ezreal, Kai'Sa, and Xayah, and those are the 3 AD carries that are generally seen most at the competitive level. But I'm actually really liking Vampire's comp already. That is interesting, though. That is an Aurelion Soul coming out from Na'Vi.
I was not expecting that. I mean, that is something that Sky still... He's been playing it a little bit more as of recently. We saw in the Baron fight. I think he played it maybe once or twice. But I think he is going to get a little bit more used to it. So he might just have been training it in solo queue as of recent times. It's been like maybe 2 weeks since I've seen Sky actually play any kind of match. So intrigued to see how that's going to be working out for Sky. But here we go. We've got the 2 drafts here locked in place for these teams. And as you mentioned, I do really like the fact that they did go for the Xayah against a really heavy dive composition. And also add to that the Janna, right? You're going to have that Monsoon coming on through, able to zone away and also heal your team. That's going to keep Garen with the Darius at arm's length, which I think is going to be great to try and render him kind of useless in those fights. But we are talking about Na'Vi here. They should be able to force that out, then go for the re-engage. But man, here we go. The very first game. We're going to be on the Wild Rift, ready to see our very first game unfold between both Vampire and Natus Vincere.
I just want to mention, Vampire do have a substitute player coming into this. Panthew in the AD carry role was recently subbed in for the game today. So they are, as you said, Max, running with a sort of a adjusted roster. We'll have to see how much that plays into their sort of synergy potential. I think when it comes to strict team fight potential, though, I'm really loving the Vampire esports roster. I think they've got a very good peeling composition for the Xayah. They've got plenty of disruption for what is a relatively easy dive to predict. Like Wukong and Darius, they can just run at you, right? So you have plenty of options to be able to peel back for the Xayah in that case. They have a composition that makes a lot of sense. And at that first Dragon team fight, I rate their team fight potential much higher than Na'Vi's. But of course, we're talking about Na'Vi. We're talking about some of the best players on the server. I could talk to you about the strength of a composition versus the composition, but when you're just dealing with mechanical players that are just that good, it might not even matter.
Yeah, but especially, so back to the Baron fight, because I'm thinking we're going to use a lot of that as a point of reference for what we're going to be seeing happen throughout this tournament. The fact is that they typically win a lot of those first Dragon fights. They're a team that like to get a 1,000 gold lead, and then they turn that gold lead into something bigger, and it just exponentially just goes out of reach of the opposing team. So Na'Vi here, if you want to beat them, Vampire cannot afford to give anything in the early game. So they've got to be really good. Their map control and their map awareness when it comes down to vision must be on point. So that's why they're going to try and take a sneaky little fight here for Scuttle. It's very early on, but I don't think they're fully ready to go for it, which I also respect. Good rotation from Sky with a Selector expansion to zone them away if need is be. Because they cleared it so quickly, we could even potentially see a double Scuttle control over the side of Na'Vi.
Doesn't look like Wukong's going to go for it. And what really interests me about this jungle pathing from Jarvan is that he intentionally went blue to red and then tried to contest bottom Scuttle, knowing that very likely that the Wukong would be going red-blue on a standard pathway towards his bottom Scuttle, right? And in order to do that, you would have to expect that you're going to have priority mid lane and priority bot lane in order to give you the space to go for that comfortably. However, you have an Aurelion Soul into Diana, and you have a Janna Xayah into Kai'Sa Lux, who are going to push the wave 10 times more quickly. I'm not sure where you thought you were going to get priority in order to try and contest that Scuttle, unless they were just looking for an all-out brawl at that first Scuttler.
I don't think so. I mean, Braum was banned, so there's definitely no reason to take an early game fight like that. Though it's going to be the Selector expansion. Does connect just in time onto Kimau. He's not going to be pushed too fast. The rest of the team's going to rotate. I do like it, though. Vampire playing really well as a team, and especially seeing the Diner here. It's going to be roaming in really good ways. So I do like how Warlife is adapting to the scene and to the map, and it's been able to rotate especially really well with the likes of Kumao. So it does seem like they got the synergy that we were a little bit skeptical about when it comes down to it, at least for the early game. We'll see if that's going to be the case. So hitting mid, hitting late, hitting those team fight moments. But they are definitely a team that doesn't seem scared to go up against Na'Vi, which in my eyes, that's already a big thumbs up play.
I mean, you can't be scared, right? There's no point being scared heading into a matchup. I think what I've really liked from Warlife is they've just been tracking the Aurelion Sol. Like, one of the benefits of an Aurelion Sol pick is that he's obviously going to be able to have impact in lanes relatively easily. He can just kind of like essentially sprint to either the Baron lane or the duo lane and the bot lane to try and have an impact. That hasn't happened as of yet. So we're essentially keeping tabs. We're keeping a lid on Na'Vi for the time being. However, they've managed to build up a 1,300 gold lead purely, I imagine, through CS differentials in every lane. Of course, we can't actually see creep score in Wild Rift, but that's really the only feasible area that I think this gold lead could have come from, and that just comes from having better lane priority, forcing those minion waves under tower to make it more difficult to farm. So Na'Vi just having the edge right now. But Max, you talked about that first dragon fight. Infernal Dragon spawning in just 4 seconds time. This will be a point of contention for both teams.
Yeah, despite the nerf as of recent times, going from 8% damage increase to up now down to 6%, it is still 6%, and it is something you do not want to overlook in any way, shape, or form. So, of course, you're going to see both Vampire and Na'Vi. They're ready to take the fight. Luckily enough, the Scuttle did go over to Vampire, so they're going to have just a little bit more awareness of the surrounding pit. And especially the Baron laners have joined the party, so we're going to be seeing the likes of Garen. He's going to be ready to go for the fight. Same for Javix. He's here with the Gragas. They're just going to be zoning it away. A lot of respect between these two teams right now.
I'd love to see the item spikes that we're at right now, just to see if there are any important items that could potentially influence the outcome of this fight. You can
Rod of Ages.
Yeah, Rod of Ages has been finished for Gragas, so he's going for a more AP-orientated build. There is also a Ryalize finished up for Skye, so a lot of team fight control coming through from this Aurelion Sol, which I think could be relatively impactful. But another Rod of Ages finished up for Diana too. Some good item spikes picked up here for the side of a Vampire, and they're actually going to engage the fight.
Cataclysm into the Cyclone. Nice knockup, but the damage just going to be a little bit overwhelming. Too much coming on through. Vampire, I like the fact that they pulled the trigger. The first kill will be going over to the side of Navi, and that's going to go for the re-engage. Straight to the backline. Mumu is going to be there solo, and he does go for the nice snipe from a distance. Really good play from Juicy, and now they full commit. Now they're going to go for the engage. Nice Blade Caller to get some extra CC onto Mumu. Can he make it out alive? The flash is clutch, and he's still up and ready to go. It's still going to be the Daddy Gragas remaining around the position, but he's going to get taken down. The double kill goes over to Skye, and that dragon is going to be free real estate for Natus Vincere.
I mean, it may not be, though.
Maybe
Ghost
not.
is low.
Actually, no,
I mean, Jarvan is coming back into the fight right now. Kemao over the wall.
no.
Oh, my word.
Going for Ghost once again. He's going to have the extra move speed from the Scuttle, though. He's going to be able to heal a little bit with that extra golden staff, but he's still going to be losing his life to the hands of actually Dark Ghost. Nice grab. Apparent is going to be doing a lot of work, but the dragon's going to get picked away. So, okay, I talk too soon. They don't call me the Curse Caster for nothing, apparently.
I mean, this is the thing in Wild Rift. This is the thing that a lot of people still don't quite have the timings down. In, a traditional game of League of Legends, you take a big dragon fight like that, you're guaranteed to get dragon, but in Wild Rift, the spawn timers are so quick in the early game. You get that little boost of movement speed to get out of the base. It's very easy to get back to the dragon and take the fight once more. And actually, I'm loving this from Vampire. They immediately convert a man advantage on the bot side of the map into first turret of the game, putting pressure onto Na'Vi already, although Na'Vi do retain the lead thus far.
Yeah, after the fact is, I would say that the Infernal Drake that they got definitely outdone. Oh, great cast coming on through from Javix. It's going to be forcing a flash out and away from Garen. So definitely there's some fight into Vampire. Really enjoying it. Going to try and take the fight for the Herald. It will be secured away just fine. Good smite coming out from Ghost. But yeah, I really like that play coming out from Javix. He was not scared to take that 1v1 versus the likes of Garen, which I do like to see. And I also do think that when you're looking at a Darius, you want to try and put him behind as early as possible, because he is a champion that even if he is behind and he gets himself just one good fight, he's back into the game. So the fact is that he was not able to get any significant early lead is actually really good, but he's got his Triforce now, so the next fight he's going to be a looming threat in the shadows.
Yeah, and actually just a little micro play that is interesting in this matchup between the Darius and the Gragas. Once those full stacks get sort of stacked up, you can use Drunken Rage to reduce your damage. That if he does end up using his ultimate, you're actually going to take reduced damage from it. So he actually played that really nicely. Ultimate comes through here. Kemao over the wall.
Oh, Drag, and he's going to get it done. The Cataclysm comes on through. A little overkill, but it doesn't matter. As long as you get the kill, that is going to be a very, very dead Garen in this game. But they lose mid lane tower. So you get killed, but your mid lane tower, that's going to open up the entire map for the side of Na'Vi for the near future. It's going to be Celestial Expansion coming on through. Does not quite get the CC, but pushes them away from the tower. Keeps it up with still 2 plates. A good play from Na'Vi. I would say that's a good trade for Na'Vi. They get the gold from the mid tower, plus the control of it. That's big for them.
Yeah, mid tier 1 is probably the most important tower in the game because of the access that it gives you to the enemy jungle and allows you to put some deep vision down and start to control entrances to the jungle. And that's really, really important. It also means that when you're trying to push up as the enemy mid lane or AD carry, there are less areas that are safe for you to kind of find. And in the mid lane, the shortest lane in the game, it is important to have those safe havens because it's kind of an area that you want to be farming in as much as possible. So it's a really, really nice turret to trade. And they have the Rift Herald 2, which should allow them to open up another turret on the map when they want to. I would imagine they maybe use it on the top side of the map because that turret is very low, but I would save it until the spawn of the next dragon to create some natural pressure on the side of the map that is the furthest away from the objective that they're looking to fight for.
Yeah, the lane swap's already come on through. Despite the Herald not being up anymore, I'm really surprised though. Tornadoes come out. Mimi not going to be overstepping his welcome anymore, so he's going to be moving backwards. But we're about to hit the 9-minute mark in this game. It's 5-4, really close, and the goal lead is still looming in favor of Na'Vi. But we mentioned it, right? The Infernal Drake is still going to be definitely outdoing that kind of small gold lead, so nothing too scary. Vampire still looking really, really comfortable in this game. But top side is going to be, once again, it's Mumu, Juicy. They're going to go for the push. They're going to be looking for those potential engages and shoving those minions under tower. But Ghost, he's going to be joining. We might see a little bit of a hard engage if they do go for the follow-up after Binding Light. But there's not hits, so they're going to be fine, and Ghost is also there to assist it if needed be. I just realized you've got 2 Ghosts. You've got Ghost and we've got a Dark Ghost, so I'm going to make sure to not confuse those 2.
Oh, Mumu has to be a little careful.
Yeah, it was checking out the bush. There was going to be vision. Goes for the dive into the Moonfall. Nice damage output, but Warlock maybe a little bit too much, and he gets instantly punished away. Mumu, that's going to be a big shield on his health bar, thanks to Juicy, and the snipe comes on through. That is why Lux is so good in this current patch, and that's going to be the re-engaged Sky. Going to bump him backwards. They're picking everything up for themselves. The Monsoon's going to be doing some good damage, though. Actually, going to be doing some good healing, should I say. It's going to be keeping them nice and topped away. Nice body slam. Javik's going to make it a nice, even trade-off. Going to get themselves a nice kill, but that's still going to be the tower falling away. And now Garen, he's going to go for the engage, the dash boost, that's Jason what I like to say. And he's going to go for the twirly, and that's going to be the pickup. Gets the reset, gets the second, and he's just chopping all the heads off. The explosive cast going to push him right in the tower, but he's got it again. He goes for another Noxian guillotine, but now it's time for the re-engage. A 1v2 coming on through. Warlife will not be able to close the gap. Garen will survive on the last tick of the ignite, and they might be able to survive another day.
My word, what on earth just happened on that top side of the map? It all started because Mumu backed on a ward, and Warlife saw an opportunity to jump in and try and eliminate the AD carry in the build-up to this Ocean Drake. I'm not entirely sure, but I really felt like there was just a mechanical outplay from Na'Vi in general, especially from Mumu, just baiting them out with the ultimate and forcing the engage from Keemao, who does not have the damage to execute him off. That's another engage coming through. He just drops into the floor, and this is a big lead now built up by Na'Vi.
At the Cataclysm, unfortunately, your team was just, they were not ready. They did not want to take that fight whatsoever. And we talked about it, right? It's a very small goal lead. That's what they had. They got themselves the turrets in top. They got themselves some good pushes and kills. And now they actually are looking really scary. They can't come back that easily from this game. Na'Vi, got to be careful. Sky, no mana remaining. So he's got to push himself back, go back to base, reset. During that entire period, though, topside, we're going to see Garen. He's split pushing, doesn't have the teleport, because he's got himself the Proto Belt. So he's going to be, unfortunately, not capable of joining those fights. But I think that without any issue here, Scoundrel, he should be able to take care of himself after that dominating fight he had earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to walk straight away. You know, like a load of gold shoveled onto this Garen now, giving him sort of a comfortable lead over his opposite number on the top side of the map. Also gone for a Force of Nature as well. Given that he's not exactly facing full AP, he has to be careful here for Warlife, but Force of Nature is great into the likes of the Diana and the Gragas. He's going for the big dunk, and Warlife knew it and backed off.
Yeah, Warlife had to move away. Going to go for the re-engage on the Proto Belt, and he's going to be having his head chopped off once more. Redemption comes out just to heal, top up their health bar, but this is just looking like Na'Vi are just in full control of this game. They're pushing everyone under their own tower, and now they're going to be potentially looking for the second mid tower, and if they get it, this is going to get even more dicey by the minute for Vampire. Just trying to zone him away as much as possible, but Sky's just keeping him at arm's length this entire fight, and they just can't get close, and if they do, well, they're going to die almost instantly.
I'm trying to work out this game, where it went so badly wrong for Vampire, because it looked like they were in a really good spot. Great cask, though.
Yeah, going to be putting him straight into the back line. He does have GA, but is that going to save his life? Oh, I don't really think so. I think he's going to instantly die. 3-2. Oh, he's got the flash, though. I didn't expect that. You know what? You got to expect the unexpected from time to time. Makes it back to safety towards his team. The Baron is still up. Now, do they want to take a Baron, or do they want to maybe just threaten it and force the fight to come to them? I think that could be a possibility for them to do, but I think that when you took already a bit of damage, you might just want to reset, get your items, and get ready for the next fight. So, still, this is looking great for Na'Vi, but Sky, a little bit too far, a little bit too adventurous and overzealous. He will be actually forcing away the Cataclysm. Final Spark gets a little bit of damage from Juicy on the likes of Javix, but really, when you still have Sky, those Select expansions, just make sure you cannot go for the engage. But Mumu don't get too close. Okay, seem like they really won the fight. They're taking this as a 3v4 currently. It's going to be forcing away that Feather Storm. I'm going to be going for the Blade Caller, just Jake Gray. Moonfall going to be doing some severe damage on the likes of Mumu and also Juicy. The body slam, it's a lot of damage, but Mumu, those shields given to him by the Lux are just out of this world, Xscandrel, and it just fall down like it's absolutely nothing. And Darko should be the next pickup. The Golden Staff will kill him, and that's going to be them now having a man advantage and looking to maybe close off this game in the very, very near future.
Yeah, they're going to take us down relatively easily. They'll drop Keymao into the floor, should be able to pick up this inhibitor turret in the mid lane, and now are searching for the Nexus Max. This might be game one.
Yeah, go for the ace. They get the ace. They go for the Nexus. It is open. It is bare. It is capable of taking damage, and that is going to be all said and done. I mean, I think that a lot of people were potentially expecting this game to go in favor of Na'Vi, but the moment we passed that 10-minute mark, it was Na'Vi all day, every day here, Xscandrel.
Yeah, I almost had no time to think about it, and it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly what went wrong, because the early game from Vampire was impressive. I genuinely think they had a really strong opening 5 minutes of the game. And when I say opening 5 minutes, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in Wild Rift, 5 minutes is a significant portion of your early game, right? So that was a really, really good opening gambit from Vampire. I loved the composition that they drafted. You can see it down below. Like, it made sense. You Jarvan combo in, you sit the Diana on top of him, you use her ultimate, the Moonfall, to bring everybody into like a Blade Caller or a knock-up from the Gragas. Their composition was pure wombo combo. Like, they wanted these team fights to happen. I just felt that first Drake fight was a little messy. Jarvan goes in by himself, wasn't immediately followed up by the Diana, so you had a little bit of a disconnect in terms of like layering your ultimates together, and that allowed the time for Na'Vi, who I think much valued the more messy, separated team fights, to kind of find their positioning. And Mumu, absolute MVP this game. The flank in the Dragon fight won it for them. The top lane, he outplayed the Diana to bait the fight, and that gave them that huge springboard to then effectively take the game. I think that was the turning point, that top lane fight just after the Rift Herald dropped, Mumu making the outplay onto Diana to make it work for them. But you can just see how easy it is to lose control of the game for Vampire, like, especially in Wild Rift. It's so easy to lose control of the game, and especially versus a team like Na'Vi, as Jason knows. Like, you put 1 foot wrong versus them, they will absolutely punish you.
See, for me, Na'Vi is very reminiscent of like the old school Gambit that played back in LCS for League of Legends on PC, because you give them a finger and they're going to take your entire arm from you. Now, Na'Vi, they did have a 5-for-1 trade at that first Dragon fight, but as you guys saw, they ended up losing the Dragon. But for me, Max, from what we've seen in the Baron fight event, is that Na'Vi are so mechanically skilled that in these team fights, even if you have a lead yourself, even if you have the Infernal Drake on your side, it is still so damn hard to beat this team.
Yeah, it's always going to be the team to beat, right? Na'Vi currently in the European scene, I think a lot of teams and people just see them as the best team, the team to beat currently, which I fully understand. But I do want to give, though, a lot of respect to Vampire. Like, the early game was really clean, and we don't see too many teams being able to put that close of a fight and a show up against Na'Vi. So for that alone, they have the keys to success. But it was that little moment you didn't mention there, Xscandrel, when we did see Mumu get engaged, but then he was able to re-engage on the tide of Warlife and then just turn it around. Then they got the towers, they got the extra goal lead because of it, and also they got the bounties. So I do think the Vampire have potential. I do think that this first game is great experience, but come into this second game, I think that they just got to try and play like that the entire game. If not, well, we'll have to say bye-bye, because it is single elimination. So that's going to be, see you later, Alligator, you're out.
I said I think the draft was fine. The draft actually made a lot of sense to me. I just want to tell you, like, I have been given some damage stats by our production team. Mumu had the most damage in the game by a significant portion, 23.2k damage from this Kai'Sa, which, as an early game Kai'Sa, it is quite difficult to build that level of damage up, but he really popped off. Mumu definitely a star AD carry for Na'Vi.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw him get the 2 kills, you guys pointed out the very first Dragon, it seemed to be that was the turning point with that, then paired up in the 1v1 against Diana in the top lane. But, you know, I want to go back to what you said, though, Max, because we do need to give some praise to Vampire. Coming into this, I think we all agree that Na'Vi were the favorites in this, but when it came to the very early stages of the game, mechanically, they played their lanes pretty damn well. Like they kept Skye in check, which is very hard for teams to do. Garen didn't get a massive lead whatsoever. We did get to see Javix actually do decently well against him with the Gragas, but then it came into those team fights. It came into those map rotations that really caught Vampire off guard. I don't want to say they're out whatsoever. I think they definitely have that chance going into game 2, but we see how quickly a team like Na'Vi can take a lead and just run away with it.
One of the things that I will say, Jason, just about the early game that was a little confusing to me was the pathing of the Jarvan. He went blue, wolves, red to try and contest bot scuttle, but you had 2 lanes where you didn't have priority. Like Aurelion Sol has priority versus Diana early on, so she was by her turret the majority, and a Lux Kai'Sa is going to hard shove a wave compared to a Janna Xayah. So there was no priority mid and there was no priority bot, but they tried to go for a bot lane scuttle fight, which I think delayed the Jarvan a little bit, and it kind of messed up the jungle pathing. I would just want to see them, try and play towards their strengths. Jarvan could have gone red, blue, and taken top scuttle, and it would have been no questions asked whatsoever. We might have been fine. That to me just maybe indicated that they weren't confident in the way that they were going to be playing their lanes out versus Na'Vi. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on the early jungle pathing in the next game, but I want to back up what you said. The early game from Vampire otherwise was generally very good. They had Na'Vi on the ropes, they contested them at Dragon, they got the Infernal, which is a huge objective to take, and especially with a sub coming in last minute, it's not an easy task to kind of reform your team and get you back into a place where you're feeling comfortable playing. So I really want to praise the early game because it was good, but they just kind of let it slip a little bit in the mid game, and as you know, Na'Vi will absolutely bite your arm off. If you give them anything, they'll take it all, and they did in that game.
And Max, we heard Xscoundrel talk so often about how the composition was really good at a Vampire. We're about to head into draft for game 2. I wonder if they're going to get another fantastic draft for themselves yet again, because they're going to need it coming into the second game. I just wonder, though, for Vampire's side, can they get those fights the way they want to? Can they get their entire team there? Can they hit that wombo combo they're going to need to take out the likes of Na'Vi?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that's going to be coming on through, but we do have 6 bans. Like, we have 3 bans per team. If you want, you can ban away the top 3 ADCs you mentioned earlier. Xscoundrel, ban away the Ezreal, ban away the Xayah, ban away the Kai'Sa. Like that, you're good. Like, you're just going to have to not deal with those champions whatsoever. But I do think that here, if you want to take Moomoo's main champ away of Kai'Sa, I think that is definitely a really good idea. At least they started off well by banning away. Vampire did ban away the Lee Sin away from Ghost, so that's already a really good start. And also, I think that now the Kai'Sa should be a must ban for the remainder of this series. If they don't, I think that Moomoo's just going to keep building up his lead every time.
So let me jump in really quickly, Xscoundrel, because Max and I were talking about this when we were casting the Baron Fight event. It doesn't seem, no matter how many bans you give teams against Na'Vi, they always have these other champions to play. I feel like we haven't really fully seen the depth of what Na'Vi can play. You mentioned Malphite, Garen always seeming to play this champion when it comes to the Baron lane. We see him being pushed onto some other champions because of bans or compositions, and he's still just as good as these other champions. And I wonder, how could a team beat Na'Vi in the banning phase? Is it even possible?
I don't think, just given the current breadth of good picks in the meta, I don't think it's easy to ban a team out. And especially because when you look at Na'Vi, it's not like there is a one trick on their team. It's not like you can ban something away from them and say, oh, well, I've limited their power significantly. They're just really good at the strong meta champions overall. So you take Kai'Sa away, I wouldn't be surprised to see them default onto a Jinx or default onto even a Draven, or, to be more aggressive in the laning phase. There are still things like Corki AD carry, which is super popular in Southeast Asia, that can still be brought out in the right circumstances. So, I don't think you can beat Na'Vi in the ban phase. I think the way you beat Na'Vi, I actually think the way that Vampire drafted was the way to beat Na'Vi. Just try and beat them at the first Dragon fight and snowball it from there.
Well, we'll see how things are going to go in game 2. Well, Max Manic Scoundrel, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jason. Here we go into our second game. Might be the last one of the first series of the day, though, because Na'Vi seen how dominant they were there. They're not going to give anything over to Vampire, which, that's the Na'Vi way of things coming into every single tournament they play in. But their first ban here is going to be for the Akali, which, am I surprised? Not really. I mean, you rated her really highly in your tier list video, Xscoundrel, and I think that she is a champion that I hate playing against. Like, she's just way too good, so seeing it banned away makes me good. She's annoying. That Twilight really Shroud, I hate it.
I know. She's a really obnoxious champion in Wild Rift. I'm very glad that she's not going to get seen in this series. I wouldn't mind seeing things like the Kai'Sa maybe banned out here. I think, Kai'Sa is, in my opinion, and especially in competitive, still, despite the nerfs, one of the best AD carries in the meta. They actually ban away the Diana, though, so that to me speaks that Vampire are worried about a first pick Diana coming out from Na'Vi, because otherwise you wouldn't be worried about banning it on red side. You would just let it run through and say, okay, well, maybe we get it on first rotation. That maybe indicates that pro teams really value Diana as a pick at this point in time. And we have seen a lot of Diana over the course of the last few tournaments. Me and you did the Premiership on Tuesday, and I think Diana was 100% pick ban the entire day. So she's in a really, really strong spot. Fiora, as I said, though, like a really strong Baron laner. So some targets towards Javix here to make sure he has a limited champ pool in terms of executing the 1v1s. So I like that from Na'Vi, because I think I was impressed with Javix in the laning phase. I think he's the one that was able to sort of handle Garen the best out of all of those lane matchups. So that's a nice ban, just taking away some things from Javix.
Yeah, I do think that would also require then a ban on a Camille. I think that might be coming out from the likes of Vampire, especially. Though Camille could very easily be played by Garen also, but we haven't seen the Malphite. No, we talked about the Malphite, like Garen, he plays all the time. Hasn't played in the first game here, so we might be seeing it come into the second game. The Lee Sin ban, as I said, from Vampire makes a lot of sense. You do not want to give that champion over to Ghost. I still think is very clearly the best jungler in the game right now is Lee Sin, so I do not have an issue with that whatsoever. We're still now 2 bans remaining. Other than that, I really do think that a Gragas ban would be good to take it away blue side. From the blue side, I think he's really good in a flex champion position. You can play in Baron lane, you can play it, like I've literally seen in every single position except ADC, and even then you could potentially play it in that position, so I wouldn't be against it. But the Ziggs, I forgot about Ziggs there for a second, but a really obnoxious mid laner. As you said earlier, Scandal, like towers feel like paper right now, just tear it down very easily with Ziggs. So as Na'Vi decide to ban it away, I'm not surprised. Also because Sky likes to play a little bit more champions, they're like, in your face. So he doesn't want to play it that much himself, so I'm okay with it. There's now 1 more ban remaining for Vampire. What are they deciding to ban away? I would like to see the Kai'Sa, but they're going to be taking their time on that one.
I mean, Camille is still open, like you said. Camille not only flexes to Baron lane, but we've seen some Camille mid, but also more sort of importantly, we've seen a lot of Camille jungle recently too. Camille jungle is proving to be a very popular pick across competitive. Gragas is still open and is very flexible, can do a lot of good in terms of most matchups. Especially Gragas' worst matchup in the top lane is Fiora. That's banned away. The Camille does get banned though. As we said, it's a very flexible pick right now, and Camille jungle is proving to be insanely good in competitive. However, still relatively open playing field for the picks that are available right now. And as a first pick, I'm trying to think what power picks are up and available for Na'Vi to go for. Diana off the table, but you do have things like the Kai'Sa, the Braum. Braum really, really strong in the meta, which was banned previously. But the Wukong is going to be prioritized for Ghost.
Okay, I'm intrigued that that's going to be actually the first pickup coming out from them. And we had some great cyclones coming out from Ghost last game especially, so I do think that there's still some really good potential with that. So now we have Kai'Sa and also Braum open. I think one of the most obnoxious duo lane matchups you can have in the Dragon lane position. So if they want to pick those right away, I wouldn't be surprised. They do go 50%. They go half the way. They do go for the Braum, but they also go for Zhao. So this is surprising. Yeah, okay. I don't know what to expect of this now.
So the reason Wukong gets higher stock in a draft phase is when Lee Sin is banned, because one of the worst matchups for Wukong in the early game is Lee Sin. His kick makes your Cyclone annoying to use in the early game, and you can't duel him very easily because he can kind of track your clone. So another really strong, especially level 3 duelist is Xin Zhao. And so, Xin Zhao is a bit more of an aggressive jungler, looks to take those early trades, has that same ability to knock Wukong away with his ultimate. So, maybe just an answer into Wukong specifically, but we will see Mumu on the Kai'Sa, and a pick that has not seen as much playtime because she has had a kind of a couple of nerfs to knock her back is the Orianna. That will get locked in for Sky. Bit more passive, bit more farming orientated, but still scales like an absolute hammer and will hit you hard in the late game. And the classic answer to Orianna in the past was the Corki, so I'm expecting Corki to go mid, but that obviously can be flexed towards the AD carry role as well. And we'll see Gragas once more for Javix.
Sky, you've changed. Like, I used to play Zed all the time, and I loved it, but now he's just gone. He became something different. I don't recognize him anymore. But you know what? Hey, I don't have an issue, as you said, despite the few nerfs on Orianna. She's still a really good champion. I got many reasons why I really like the composition, especially around the Orianna. I'll touch on that when we hit the early game a little bit, because here we have the Gragas, we have the Corki. Corki, as you know, like just a great champion in the overall meta as of right now. And especially, I'm really hyped to see when Snitch is going to be playing that one, especially for his own matchup with Tribe. That's going to be a fun one. And they closed it off actually with the Xayah also. So still a lot of peeling. Very somewhat similar with what we had in the first game, where they have some nice peeling that's going to be granted away, especially by the Braum. Also going to have the Xing Zhao that's going to be able to help a bit. The Explosive Cask. and also the Blade Caller coming on through from the Xayah play. So I still really like this composition from Vampire. I think it's a good chance to take it versus Na'Vi, but the Nami too, that's a champion we don't see picked up too much, but Juicy, he is really good on that champ play. He's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and also you get auto priority versus a Xayah Braum lane. So you are going to have priority bot lane, which is going to give, again, Ghost the ability to control that bot lane scuttle. So that's going to be important for them overall. And I imagine that Keymal may not want to play towards that lane because it's actually relatively even in the mid lane between Orianna and Corki. Corki should be able to push the Orianna in early, but if you have a bot lane that's more readily able to respond to you, then it might be a bit more difficult to go for that bot lane scuttle fight early on. And it's a very similar matchup on the top side of the map again, with Javix on the Gragas and obviously Garen on the Darius, which is going to be really annoying to say if I have to keep saying it over and over and over again. But Garen on the Darius, that went relatively evenly in the last game. And you were mentioning that you like this Na'Vi composition. I like it for one specific reason: the Wukong Orianna combo. It's really simple to pull off, and it's very strong in team fights.
Yeah, I was about to say about that, actually. Like, literally, Ghost in this matchup is going to be the UPS delivery service. Well, I mean, I say that. I've got UPS that never gave me my package. So maybe not. Hopefully, he's going to be better than UPS. But Ghost is going to be having the ball from Orianna on him. And he's just going to go forward, go for the Cyclone, and then boom, instantly convert it into a Shockwave. That's going to be the play. So if they execute it properly, and they showed it many times in the Baron fight and many other tournaments like Mobile Mayhem, they are really going to be showing up to the occasion. And not only that, you also got the Tidal Wave, plus also the Bubble. I know it's got another name, but I just call it Bubble because that's how I go, and I think that most casters call it the Bubble, but I'm going to go with it.
We just call it the Bubble. Yeah.
Do people even, does it even have a real ability name? If they say yes, I'm going to disagree.
I don't know, mate. I just don't know. But, you know, it's colloquially known as the Bubble. Look at this, though. As we said, auto priority for a Nami Kai'Sa in the bot lane, which makes this a little more interesting that we are going to see Keymal going for the bot lane scuttle again, because Wukong will be there to contest him. Orianna is gaining a bit of priority back versus the Corki in the mid lane. If Keymal decides to commit to this scuttle, he won't really have the support from his teammates to be able to go for it.
Yeah, I would not want to fight versus Braum in the early game. I see the Braum, I just run away in fear. I would not really want to take that one. The Bubble does connect, actually going to be buying a little bit of time with Panthew, and the Scuttle will be secured away. Who got it though? Not sure. This is just a little bit too much of a skirmish. It's going to be going onto the backside. We'll have to flash away. Ghost is going to be just fine for the time being. And now the health bar, actually not looking good for Vampire. Surprising. The Bubble connects two super valuable targets, and they just pick up the instant double kill. They're actually hungry. They're starving. They want more. The Blade Caller's huge is going to actually pick up a reverse kill, but it doesn't matter. Na'Vi dominate versus an early Braum. What was that?
No, I just don't get it. Like, you didn't have priority. Don't do it. Just go to the top lane scuttle. You don't need to do this. Look, the problem with that is that to rotate your bot lane through the blue side jungle entrance gives you less flexibility with how you're going to approach the fight. Not only that, you were giving up minions and giving up experience to the tower. Your Corki was on a quarter HP. You lost the scuttler to a smite from the Wukong. It was just it was really risky, and you didn't need to do it because you had no priority bot lane. You have to play around the priority in your lanes as a jungler. You can't just auto path towards the closest scuttler, and that's the problem that I had with that right there. You know, it played out almost exactly as we talked about before the draft even began. Yeah. It just wasn't the correct decision overall from Vampire, and they've just given a huge lead to Na'Vi even before this first dragon has started up, and that's going to be a real problem now. I don't see a good way that you get back into this dragon fight, and Na'Vi do scale really well also, so it's not exactly like you can just wait it out to the late game and expect to win.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Scandal, they got first Scuttle. How about second Scuttle? Lord of the Ring? No? Okay, fair enough. We're going to keep on going into this game. No, man, we just got to go for it. I got to put as many references. I got a quota per day. But the Drake is about to spawn, even though I said the other day, and Alexandru, you disagree with me, but all my homies do hate the Mountain Drake. But though, you changed my mind a fair bit. Mountain Drake isn't that bad after all. I take everything back, Mountain Drake. It's going to be spawning in now 20 seconds just about. So teams are going to set up their resets, as you could see was Na'Vi. They're going back to base, turn that gold into some items to avoid chucking golden coins at their enemies. And they're going to be, especially getting the redemption from Juicy, potentially get a little bit of extra healing or extra damage, as it does tell you 10% max health damage output when you hit the redemption. So that's still some damage that you don't want to be overlooking whatsoever. But Garen got to be careful. You're getting pushed into a fight while Keymal is going to be rotating with Zhao. He did have also the sweeper picking out some vision. Nothing comes on through. They're going to have 4 players in the bottom side for Na'Vi. They seem like they're going to have priority for Drake if they go for it, but the lack of vision is going to hurt those chances quite a bit.
I think Vampire realized that going for a no,
Garen,
he missed it.
No, he missed the explosive cast. Garen's gonna have to flash away, but it doesn't really matter. The damage is too much. He does go for the apprehend, but he's just gonna be taking him down regardless. Second kill going over to the side of Vampire, but now they know they have two players on the top side. They know the jungler's not there. This is free Drake, but they're gonna bring some cross mapping. Mountain Drake full tower, I think is worth it. Great two-man into the shockwave. The explosive cast into the bubble. He just can't play the game. Let Dark Ghost play some Wildrift, please. As Panther is gonna be taking some severe damage, having to flash away to the safety of his tower. But Sky, he's chasing. He's got the shield. The Blade Caller is still present. It's gonna be a one-on-one trade-off, but goddamn, Sky, that was unnecessary.
No, he just didn't use Dissonance. He just didn't use his second ability. Like, he would have killed him instantly if he just pressed his second ability. But he accidentally pressed his first ability and brought the shield back straight to him. Nice package, though. Really good package.
Double Valkyrie back over the wall, gonna bring some slow. And Ghosty just can't make it back. Oh, nice cycle into the flash. Can he get the heal in time? He gets one Honey Fruit heal just in time. But unfortunately, can't really say the same for Garen. And he's gonna be just taken off the surface of the Earth. And Vampire, despite that horrendous early game, I would say, Scandal, they're putting a really good fight here.
No, let's peel back a little bit here. Hopefully the action just boils down for a moment because they can't afford to back.
There's a lot, yeah.
They can't afford to back right now because they'll give it the first turret of the game. So yeah, this is good. Just stay around for this. But so first of all, let's peel back to the top lane engage. That was when we saw Xin Zhao go in on the Darius and we saw Corki rotate up with the package. That was clever. Like, Vampire knew that given that how that Scuttle fight went, there was no way that they were going to win a team fight around the Dragon. So they cross-mapped, as you said. They went for the first tower of the game, which is worth a significant amount of gold for your team. That was a really sensible decision. I love what they did there. I think it was the correct thing to do. And then they rotated mid, and obviously we saw the little fiasco at the mid lane tier 1. They managed to claw back some resources in these mid lane engages. Vampire have responded to Crisis in the early game really well, but they need to continue the pressure. They have a good early game dueling composition with this Xin Zhao. They just need to try and continue that. This is where I'm worried now, though. We are that's a really good delaying engage, though.
Yeah, not going to get it. It actually doesn't have the Cyclone yet, Ghost, so you can't really do too much. Canard, the big engagement, that big knockup, the Tidal Wave going to bring a lot of extra timing. I mean, we're going to be doing some really big damage, and now he's going to be one-on-one face-to-face versus Warlife. That shield is huge, was granted to him, and now they're going to be taking a fight once again. Sure, they don't get themselves the Herald, but now they could potentially pick up some tower. I think mid-tower would have been really big, but they're going to go for the top tower instead.
I mean, look, let's talk about what Rift Herald is worth in terms of map pressure, right? Rift Herald gets you one tower most of the time if you're using it effectively. That, or it creates some natural priority for you in a lane. If you get Rift Herald, but you lose an entire team fight and then lose a tower anyway, can you effectively type worth in all chat? No, you can't. That was not worth whatsoever for Vampire. And unfortunately, they weren't able to execute on the team fight properly. They used the Braum ultimate to try and delay as an escape plan. Didn't work out. Yes, they claimed the Rift Herald, but they lost everything that you would have got for the Rift Herald anyway, and more. That is not a worth trade. Vampire in a rough spot 7 minutes into this game.
It could turn worth, though. Because I like saying worth. I'm a toxic gamer, so I always say worth in the chat easy, even though even when I win. So that's how I do it. But also here, it's going to be an Infernal Drake, so it could grant them priority if they use it properly. As you mentioned, if they use it properly, then they could get an advantage. If they get a tower plus the Infernal Drake, then that's going to be a win, but it's going to be long-term. And seeing how Na'Vi are currently positioned, they're putting vision towards that Herald, towards that Dragon Pit position. They're going to have all the information that they require under their belt. Which is not going to be the case for Vampire. Like, they're going back to base, can see the vision. Thank you very much, Observer. As going to be able to see that there's a lack of vision for the entirety of Vampire. They do not know where they're going, so that's going to be hard for them. This tower potentially about to get taken down. The bubble's going to be absorbed away by the Unbreakable of the Braum, so it's not going to be doing too much. Can't quite get the first plate. But Na'Vi, they're just keeping them at arm's length, trying to maybe facilitate a future pick on this mid lane tower later on down the line.
The thing about creating priority with the Rift Herald in the lead up to Dragon is that you kind of need to do something within the space of like 10 to 15 seconds upon spawning it, right? And if you don't, then the enemy team can just kill the Rift Herald and then come back and fight you at the Dragon Pit. So that's the only worry that I have here. I don't think that Vampire have got enough of a lead. They have got some big item spikes right now. The Triforce is completed on the 2 Triforce carries is important. We have the Infinity Edge there too. So some good item spikes to work with for this fight. But you're looking at a Rabadon's Deathcap Liandry's Orianna. You're looking at a fully evolved Mumu with both his first ability and his third ability upgrades, and the Triforce there for Garen and the Darius. I don't think that even with these really important item spikes of Vampire, you can actually win a team fight. And I think a lot of that comes from just how powerful Skye is right now as well. Skye is that skeleton key to unlocking these team fights. Like a single shockwave from him could obliterate your HP bar.
Oh, there you go. Good. See big explosive cast. Valkyrie going to go to the backline. Great slow, but having to flash straight back to safety. In that time, great knock-up. Ghostie's doing so much work. Having to go golden almost instantly. But the health bars are just melting away. It feels like butter right now. Vampire struggling, and he's going straight for the backline. Mumu, the one-man army. Body slam does bring a lot of CC to the table, but he's still got the flash. He's just going to be doing so much hurt. He was the MVP top player of game 1, and he wants to become it once again in this second matchup versus Vampire. JVix, he's running for his life, and during that time, we're just going to have a little bit of a chill time, especially for Ghost. He's picking up the Drake solo, and he's going to be able to do it easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, you're going up against too much damage right now. They have way too many item spikes over you. And unfortunately, when it comes to the second Drake, especially when it's an Infernal, it's much harder to effectively cross-map and trade for something. So they knew that really the only angle that they had was either to farm some side lanes and give it up for free or go for the fight, utilizing the fact that they had a Triforce Corki, a Triforce Zinzal. Maybe they were big enough item spikes to work with, but unfortunately, they were not. Vampire now in a really rough spot. 10k gold lead looming down on them. Na'Vi, this is their game to throw at this point, Max, and I don't think Na'Vi are in the habit of throwing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. I will have to ask Quiz Jason, especially when we're back on the desk after this game, but I do think that we have never, until now, seen a game where Na'Vi had a 10,000 gold lead and lost. It never happens. There you go. Jason just confirmed in my ears right now that, it has indeed never happened. So, things are not looking too good for the side of Vampire, as to history tends to repeat itself. So, Na'Vi, they're going to keep the pressure down. The Baron is up. They win the fight. They get the Baron. They get the game. It's going to be very standard. It's very by the book, but it just works so well when Na'Vi plays it. And actually, Scoundrel, I got some information for you. Do you know that Na'Vi play without all players in voice chat? They like have 2 to 3 players in voice chat, not all the team. And it doesn't feel that way at all.
No, they just intuitively know. I have seen them communicate through text a little bit in some of the games that I have seen them. Yeah. So I've seen them talk to each other a little bit, so they at least give some information over. But that is really impressive that you've not got everyone on comms. You're still playing the game so intuitively well, and it kind of speaks to the prowess of these players as these mechanically skilled individuals too. Mumu here 507 on the Kai'Sa. Skye having an absolutely nutty game on the Orianna too, with that Rabadon's death cap finished up, like I said. It just feels like even when you just look strictly at these item and gold differentials, there isn't many easy ways for Vampire to find their way back in. You have got a 4,000 gold lead on both the AD carry and the mid for Na'Vi. That is scary. And even your 0-3 Darius is ahead in gold versus JVix on this Gragas.
Yeah, Garen's just been able to farm really well since the very start of this game, so he's going to be feeling very comfortable. And it seemed like, okay, they're going to be Cinder in the bottom side. It is going to be JVix. He's going to be split pushing. I do not believe he had a teleport at the time, so he's not going to be able to really join up too quickly. So that is going to be technically a 5-on... Well, not even technically. It is going to be a 5-on-14 fight, and this is a fight that Vampire just like, nope, we do not want this whatsoever. Oh, he did have the teleport. Again, just blind apparently. Bubble comes off through, does not quite connect. There's going to be trying to go for the chop instantly. Will he die? That will be the case for great re-engage. And now Mumu, he's going to be doing the damage. I mean, already so low. The part that just laid out in front of him. He flashes. He's looking aggressive. He's going to be picking up another triple. Can we get the very first pentakill in the first series? I talked too soon. He's not going to be chasing it down, but that is still impressive stuff coming out from Mumu.
Mumu's damage is just nutty at this point in the game. Like, how can you stop this man? 3.5 items actually chunking left, right, and center, and no one has built resistances apart from the Braum. Very few people have the resistances to stop Mumu in his tracks. The package was defensive, not going to go any further with that, and the first inhibitor tower in the top lane gets taken down. This should be painting by numbers for Na'Vi now. They have Baron and complete control of the map.
Yeah, they don't have to take care of the Baron lane anymore now. It's just going to be pushing naturally for the entirety, for the rest of this game, technically. So you don't have to take care of it whatsoever. That's going to be allowing, especially Garen and the rest of his team, to just remain more into the bottom side of the map, especially towards the jungle, mid, and also bottom side. Now if they can get second inhib in mid, that would really just seal the fate of this game in their very own hands. Dragon's about to respawn, is going to be the Ocean one. I mean, it's just going to be is it going to change anything? I mean, not really. No, Scoundrel. It's already pretty much over.
I mean, it is. I don't like to call games over, but 16,000 gold lead, that's pretty disgusting. That's pretty disgusting. Most of that being on your 2 most influential carries in the game, the Kai'Sa and the Orianna. I don't see a good way for Vampire to get back into this. I mean, Na'Vi.
Mumu!
Na'Vi are a favorite for our entire tournaments for a reason. They are just simply flexing that in the first series of the day. This is the team that you want to keep your eyes on for the remainder of our tournament. And I think this is again, as you said, one of the best teams in Europe.
Apprehend's going to get some nice damage, and that's going to be the dive coming on forward. That shield is just chunky for Mumu. They can't even make it back to their very own base. He's got the Blade Caller, but is it going to be enough? Oh, no. Still another triple kill going to the name of Sky. The Nexus is bare. That is going to be game. That is going to be series, and that is going to be Na'Vi, as expected, take himself the very first series of the entirety of this tournament. What a showcase for the Battle for the Rift.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant from Na'Vi. You didn't expect anything less. This time round, able to punish what was... Again, Jason, you heard my agony in my voice talking about the early jungle pathing from Zinzao. We called it in draft. We said, you don't have priority bot. Don't fight for the bot lane scuttle. And it happened and played out, not the way that I wanted it to, but it played out as we said. They weren't able to gain priority for that bot lane scuttle, and that kind of gave too much of an advantage over to Na'Vi from the early game. And as we know, you give Na'Vi that kind of advantage, they are not going to let it go.
Yeah, Mumu in particular, this man finished off 11-0-9. As you said before, he was just chunking everyone on the side of Vampire. And that's Na'Vi, I think, trying to make a statement here in this event. The last event they played, the Baron fight, they lost to Team Queso in the grand finals 3-2. I think they come into this event extremely ready to go, Max. Everyone playing perfectly. Garen, I feel kind of bad for him because I think he finished off like 0-3, 0-4, or I guess
He's
like
playing Malphite. So,
yeah, he didn't really finish off too well in terms of like KDA, but the thing was he seemed to be almost a bait for the team, as we saw towards the Baron fight as well, sticking on the other side of the wall, trying to delay as long as possible.
Yeah, I think they were he was not going to be the big carry threat. I mean, it was going to be Mumu. I would love to see it. Well, actually, we got the stats, I believe, in terms of damage. Is it going to be Mumu number one? Actually, no, it was Sky.
Yeah,
Oh,
Orianna is.
yeah.
But then the fact that Kai'Sa is even close to an Orianna who had Rabadon's death cap as like her second item early into the game, it still speaks volumes to kind of how Mumu was able to negotiate these team fights and keep that damage output out. And damage doesn't tell you everything. Let's be real, damage is merely a flex stat for the most part at the end of the game. But you know, I think Mumu and Sky had a really strong series, and as you said, they are flexing their muscles for this first series of the tournament. They are out for revenge. They want to make sure they're solidifying themselves as that best team in Europe once more. And this is the tournament to do it. This has the best teams in Europe ready to fight. You know, you come out of this tournament, you can effectively put that crown on your head and say, I am the best Wild Rift team in Europe right now.
I like how you mentioned the damage, more of a flex stack, because I can think back to many times playing with Max and him saying, Jason, look, most damage, as he hits like the 50k mark on a Seraphine.
Hey, Ken, give it to me. Okay, I'm proud sometimes.
Hey, you're doing well on Seraphine, I'll give you that. But also, I do want to say, Vampire, I think, in my opinion, overall kind of did well. It's very, not often we see a team push Na'Vi in a match. And obviously Game 2 is a little bit of a different story. Game 1, it was great to see them be able to push Na'Vi, be able to go head-to-head mechanically when it came to the laning phase. Then obviously when it came to the team fights, things started to swing in towards Na'Vi favor. And hopefully for them as well, they can kind of have a solid roster. Again, we talked about Dark Ghost, the only one on the team in pretty much every iteration of them dating back to January of this year. And they seem to, you know, have the potential. I think just work out a couple of kinks, as you point out, like Scoundrel, the early Scuttle fights, not really favoring them too well. But Max, honestly, it is great to see this team, you know, do decently well.
I mean, this is a great learning experience in general, right? You cannot replicate this kind of experience in scrims in general, because this was Na'Vi playing at their best. This was Na'Vi trying at their best what they can actually do on Wild Rift. And I think that when you see a team here, and we mentioned this at the very start of the show, the fact that this is a team that is still very newly built, right? They're still trying to build that synergy and everything. And they were actually close early game. I think that you give them some time. I think this could be one of the teams that could be runner-ups right behind, or even just next to Na'Vi in the near future, because we mustn't forget, right, that Riot also said that in summer, we're going to have the official esports scene for Europe actually kick into gear. So this might be one of the few teams to make it up there once the scene actually kicks into gear.
Yeah. And I want one last word on Vampire before we obviously move on. They impressed me with some of the way that they approach the early game in general. I loved the intelligence for them to sacrifice the first dragon and cross-map it for the first tower of the game. It was the right decision to make, given that they just lost so badly early on in a team fight that I think if you went for a full-on team fight at Drake, you would have got slaughtered and the game would have been over quicker. So there is some elements of some smart decision-making there, but just sure it up a little bit. Think about your early jungle pathing a little more and the way the priority lays in your lanes, and you may be looking at a team that could grow and definitely contend with the big boys in Europe in the near future.
Well, it's a nice little bow to the present of our first match. We did happen today. You can see on your screens, we do have Team Queso going up against Clash next. That's in about 5 to 10 minutes time. We're just getting things sorted while we head to a short break. But to remind you guys, this is Battle for the Rift by Giant Slayer. We also have Mobile Gaming Corp giving away 10 $50 gift certificates in chat. Just type !giveaway and make sure you guys click the link so you guys can be entered in to that giveaway. We'll see you guys in about 5 minutes time here for game 2. Don't go anywhere.